All right, thank you guys. We are 7-2 in our last 9 college football tier package picks on BrockPage.com. And if you want to see which one of these free picks on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for my college football tier package picks on BrockPage.com. We're also 9-3 in our last 12 NFL tier package picks on that very same website. We currently have over 720 members who are signed up and active on that site. And once again, if you want to see which one of these free picks on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for my college football tier package picks on BrockPage.com. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. Ball State takes on Akron, 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff Tuesday night. Ball State's minus 19.5, totals 58. Ball State's 110th in offensive yards per play. They're also rushing for just 115 yards a game. They're taking on an Akron team who successfully covered the point spread in 2 out of their last 3. The Zips are rushing for nearly 200 yards a game at home, and they're in the top 25 in offensive time of possession. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Akron's last 3 got over the number. Ball State's 2-1 to the over in their last 3. I'm going to lean toward Akron plus 19.5 and the over 58. Next game, Eastern Michigan versus Toledo, 7:30 Eastern start time on Tuesday. Toledo's minus 9, totals 53. Toledo lost 2 out of their last 3 ball games. They're 126th in the country in fourth quarter scoring at home. They're taking on an Eastern Michigan team who won 2 out of their last 3. They averaged 33 points a game. Ben Bryant's thrown for over 1,800 yards. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes. Eastern Michigan's in the top 25 in fourth quarter scoring. Their last 2 straight got over the line, 4-2 to the over in their last 6. Meanwhile, Toledo saw 7 out of their last 10 meetings with the Eagles get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Eastern Michigan plus 9 over 53. Next game, Miami, Ohio versus the Ohio Bobcats. 7:30 Eastern kickoff Tuesday night. Miami's minus 7, numbers 52.5. The Miami Redhawks are on a 2-game winning streak, 3-1 straight up in their last 4. This Miami defense is giving up only 168 passing yards a game on the road. Lonnie Phelps has 5.5 sacks on the year. Matthew Salopek has 72 total tackles himself. They're taking on an Ohio team who's winless at home this year, and they went just 1-7 straight up overall for the season. And the Bobcats are throwing for just 166 yards a game. They're also 113th in scoring on average per contest. Now, total-wise, 3 out of the Bobcats' last 4 home games fell under the number, 6-2 to the under overall for the year. Meanwhile, Miami saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Miami, Ohio, minus 7 and the under 52.5. Next game, Central Michigan versus Western Michigan, 7 o'clock Wednesday. Western Michigan's minus 10, total 67. Western Michigan failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 116th in the country in fourth quarter scoring at home. They're taking on a Central Michigan team who won 2 out of their last 3. They actually rank in the top 25 in pass yards per game. Khalil Pimpleton, what a name, and Dallas Dixon, they've combined for over 1,100 receiving yards together, along with 8 scores. 3 out of the Chippewas' last 4 road games fell under the line. Meanwhile, the Broncos are 5-3 to the over for the entire season. Give me Central Michigan plus 10, under 67. Next game, Northern Illinois versus Kent State, 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff this Wednesday. Kent State's minus 3.5, total 66. The Golden Flashes failed to cover in 4 out of their last 6. And they're allowing over 33 points a game. Kent State's also 117th in rush defense. They're taking on a Northern Illinois team who's a top 10 rush offense. Harrison Whaley and Jay Ducker, they've combined for over 1,000 rushing yards on the season. Both men are averaging nearly 6 yards a carry. The Huskies are also on a 5-game winning streak. NIU's last 2 straight got over the number. 2 out of Kent State's last 3 got over the line themselves. Give me Northern Illinois plus 3.5 over 66. Next game, Georgia State, Louisiana, 7:30 Eastern kickoff this Thursday. Louisiana's minus 12, totals 53.5. The Raging Cajuns are on a 7-game winning streak, 4-0 straight up on their home field. The Cajuns average 41 points a game, and they're in the top 20 in rushing. Chris Smith and Montrell Johnson have combined for over 1,100 rushing yards together, along with 15 scores. Now, both running backs are also averaging 6 yards per carry. Meanwhile, defensively, Louisiana allows only 12 points a game. They're taking on a rush-heavy Georgia State program who throws for only 163 yards a game. Meanwhile, defensively, the Panthers are giving up 32 points per contest when traveling. Total-wise, Georgia State's 3-1 to the over on the road, 5-3 to the over for the whole year. Give me the Louisiana Raging Cajuns minus 12 and the over 53.5. Next game, Virginia Tech, BC, 7:30 Eastern kickoff this Friday. Va-Tech's minus 3, totals 46.5. The Hokies have failed to cover in 5 out of their last 6. 103rd in the country in pass offense. They're taking on a Boston College team who's a top 10 pass defense, and they allow only 20 points a game. Brandon Sebastian has 3 interceptions on the season. Isaiah Graham-Mobley with 46 total tackles on the year as well. This BC defense is giving up just about 107 rush yards a game on the ground. Now, total-wise, 2 out of BC's last 3 home games fell under the number, 6-2 to the under for the whole year. Meanwhile, the Hokies are 2-0 to the under when traveling, 6-2 to the under for the whole season themselves. I'm going to lean toward Boston College plus 3 and the under 46.5. Next game, Utah, Stanford, 10:30 Eastern kickoff Friday night. Utah is minus 7, totals 52. The running Utes won 4 out of their last 5 ball games. 33 points a game they're averaging for the entire season. Tavion Thomas is gaining 5.5 yards per carry, and he scored 10 times on the ground. Meanwhile, defensively, Utah's allowing only 200 pass yards a game on the road. They're taking on a Stanford team who hasn't won a game since October 2nd. 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 as well. The Cardinal has had an insane amount of players on the injury report. They're also 126th in rush yards per game at home. Stanford's gaining only 87 yards a game on the ground when traveling. Now, Utah's last 4 straight all got over the number, 6-2 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Utah minus 7 over 52. Next contest, early one. I'm talking about Army versus Air Force. 11:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff on Saturday. Air Force is minus 2.5, totals 37. Air Force got the W in 4 out of their last 5 ball games. 4-1 against the spread in those 5 contests. The Falcons have the #1 rush offense in the country. They're gaining over 331 yards a game on their home field, of course, with regard to rushing the football. They're taking on an Army team who's on a 3-game losing streak, and they rank 114th in yards allowed per play. Army's 4-3 to the over for this season. I like Air Force minus 2.5 over 37. Next game, Illinois, Minnesota, 12 o'clock East. Minnesota's minus 14.5, numbers 44. The Gophers are on a 4-game winning streak, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. They're rushing for over 222 yards a game on the ground. Trey Potts averages just about 5 yards a carry. He's gained 552 total yards on the ground this year. Meanwhile, defensively, Minnesota's allowing only 18 points a game and just 92 yards a game on the ground. They're taking on an Illinois club who's just 3-6 thus far in the season, and they throw for a measly 119 yards a game on the road. The Illini's averaging only 14 points a game on the road as well. Illinois is 3-0 to the under when traveling, 8-1 to the under for the whole season. I like Minnesota minus 14.5 and the under 44. Next contest, Mizzou, Georgia, 12 o'clock East. The Georgia Bulldogs are minus 38, totals 59. The undefeated Bulldogs have also successfully covered the point spread in 75% of their games this year. Adam Anderson has 5 sacks on the year. Channing Tindall with 40 tackles on the year himself. The Bulldogs have the best defense in the country. They give up only 6 points a game. They're taking on a Missouri club who failed to cover the point spread in all 8 of their contests this year. They're the worst covering team in college football. They're also giving up 36 points a game. And they're letting their opponents rush for over 290 yards per contest on the road. Now, total-wise, Missouri went 3-0 to the over on the road, 6-2 to the over for the whole year. Give me Georgia minus 38 and the over 59. Next matchup, SMU versus Memphis, 12 o'clock Eastern start time. SMU's minus 5.5, total 71. The Mustangs are 7-1 thus far in this season, top 10 in pass offense in the country. Tanner Mordecai has thrown for over 2,600 yards, along with 32 touchdowns. SMU scoring 42 points a game. They're taking on a Memphis club who lost 4 out of their last 5. And they went just 1-4 against the spread in those 5 ball games. The Tigers allow 30 points a game. They rank 119th in fourth quarter points allowed. Now, total-wise, Memphis is 4-0 to the under on their home field. I'm going to lean toward SMU minus 5.5 and the under 71. Next ball game, Wake Forest, UNC, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. North Carolina's minus 2.5, total 76. The Star Heel defense is 100th in the nation in points allowed. They also failed to cover the point spread in their last 3 straight. They're taking on an undefeated Wake Forest team who scores 49 points a game on the road. And they rank in the top 3 in offensive yards per play away from home. Sam Hartman's thrown for nearly 2,500 yards, along with 22 touchdowns. Now, this O-line's done a really nice job protecting Hartman. He's only been sacked 11 times through 8 ball games. Sam's also got 2 wideouts with over 700 yards receiving apiece. Now, 3 out of Wake Forest's last 4 got over the line. UNC also saw 5 out of their last 7 get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Wake Forest plus 2.5 and the over 76. Next game, Louisiana Tech versus UAB, 12 o'clock Eastern start time. UAB's minus 13.5, totals 50. UAB's won 2 out of their last 3 ball games, 4-2 against the spread in their last 6. The Blazers are a top 25 rush defense, and they're allowing only 20 points a game. UAB has 14 takeaways, and they're led by linebacker Noah Wilder, who's got 54 tackles on the season. UAB's taking on a La Tech team who's on a 4-game losing streak, and they went just 1-4 against the spread in their last 5. The Bulldogs are also winless on the road, and they're 118th in pass defense. Louisiana Tech's 5-3 to the over thus far in the season. Give me UAB minus 13.5 and the over 50. Next game, K-State, Kansas, 12 o'clock East. Kansas State's minus 24, numbers 56.5. The Wildcats are on a 2-game winning streak, 3-1 against the spread in their last 4. This K-State defense is in the top 15 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed. Felix Enudike Uzama has 7 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, while Daniel Green has 49 total tackles. They're taking on a 1-7 Kansas squad who's 128th in the country and scoring on average per game at home. Meanwhile, defensively, they're allowing 44 points a game and over 250 yards a game rushing. Total-wise, 5 out of Kansas's last 7 got over the line. Meanwhile, K-State went 4-2 to the over in their last 6. Give me Kansas State minus 24, over 56.5. Next ball game, Liberty, Ole Miss, 12 o'clock Eastern start time. Ole Miss is minus 9.5, numbers 68. The Rebels are 4-0 straight up at home, 3-1 against the number in those home victories. The Rebels are scoring over 48 points a game on their home field, and they're in the top 3 in offensive rushing. Quarterback Matt Corral has 10 touchdowns on the ground, 25 total touchdowns on the year. Meanwhile, running back Snoop Connor has 10 rushing TDs on the season himself. The Rebels are in the top 10 in offensive yards per play from scrimmage at home. They're taking on a Liberty squad who's 122nd in first quarter scoring on the road. The Flames also failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3 outings. 4 out of Liberty's last 5 road games fell under the total. The Flames are officially 6-3 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Rebels went 5-3 to the under themselves. I'm going to lean toward Ole Miss minus 9.5 and the under 68. Next game, Ohio State, Nebraska, 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Ohio State's minus 15, total 64. The Buckeyes are scoring more points per contest than any other team in college football. Ohio State scoring over 50 points a game on the road, and they lead the country in offensive yards per play when traveling. C.J. Stroud's thrown for over 2,200 passing yards, along with 23 touchdowns. Meanwhile, running back Travion Henderson is gaining over 100 yards a game on the ground, and he scored a dozen times on the ground as well. Now, defensively, Ohio State allows just 17 points a game on the road. They're taking on a Nebraska club who's on a 3-game losing streak themselves, 1-5 straight up in their last 6. The Cornhuskers rank 101st in first quarter scoring. 4 out of Nebraska's last 7 fell under the number. Give me Ohio State minus 15, under 64. Next contest, Pitt versus Duke, 12 o'clock East. Pitt's minus 21, total 64.5. The Pitt Panthers are averaging 44 points a game. They rank in the top 5 in passing. Kenny Pickett's thrown for over 2,700 yards, along with 26 touchdowns. Wide receiver Jordan Addison's averaging over 100 yards a game receiving, along with 10 TDs. Pitt is scoring more second quarter points than any other team in college football. They're taking on a Duke squad who hasn't won a game since September 25th, just 1-3 against the number in their last 4. This Blue Devil defense gives up over 33 points a game. They rank 126th in pass defense. Pitt saw 2 out of their last 3 road games get over the number, 6-2 to the over for the entire season. Give me Pitt minus 21, over 64.5. Next matchup, Georgia Tech, Miami, Florida, 12:30 Eastern kickoff. The Miami Hurricanes are minus 10, total 64. The Miami's allowing 31 points a game. They rank 104th in second quarter points allowed. They're taking on a Georgia Tech team who's in the top 25 in offensive yards per play on the road. When it comes to the total in this one, 2 out of GT's last 3 fell under the line. Meanwhile, Miami went 3-2 to the under at the Hard Rock this year. I'm going to lean toward Georgia Tech plus 10, under 64. Next game, Appalachian State versus Arkansas State, 2 o'clock Eastern start time. Appy State's minus 21, total 68. The Mountaineers have won 5 out of their last 6 contests. Top 3 in the country in fewest second quarter points allowed on the road. This Mountaineer defense has 13 takeaways, and they're led by DeMarco Jackson, who's got 75 total tackles on the season. They're taking on an Arkansas State team who's on a 7-game losing streak themselves. They have one of the worst defenses in the country. The Red Wolves allow over 42 points per contest. They're 130th in yards allowed per play. Now, when it comes to the number in this one, Appalachian State saw 4 out of their last 6 get over the total. Give me Appy State minus 21, over 68. Next game, Cal, Arizona, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff. The Cal Golden Bears are minus 12, totals 50.5. Cal's 3-0 against the spread on the road this season, top 25 in road passing. Chase Garber's thrown for nearly 2,000 yards. The Golden Bears are in the top 20 in first quarter scoring. They're taking on a winless Arizona team who allows 32 points a game. The Bobcats are also 115th in rush offense at home. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Arizona's last 4 fell under the line. Cal's 3-1 to the under in their last 4 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Cal Golden Bears minus 12, under 50.5. Next game, UL Monroe versus Texas State. 3 o'clock Eastern start time. Texas State's minus 3.5, totals 59. The Texas State Bobcats are on a 3-game losing streak, 1-5 straight up in their last 6. The Bobcats are 118th in offensive yards per play. They're taking on a UL Monroe team who ranks in the top 20 in third quarter scoring. Now, defensively, the Warhawks are in the top 15 in third quarter points allowed on the road. This Warhawk D has 14 takeaways, and they're led by Ty Shelby, who has 5.5 sacks on the year. Now, UL Monroe's 3-0 to the over when traveling, 6-2 to the over for the whole year. Meanwhile, 3 out of Texas State's last 4 home games got over the total themselves. I like UL Monroe plus 3.5 in the over 59. Next game, North Texas, Southern Miss, 3 o'clock East. North Texas is minus 4.5, totals 47. The Mean Green's really good against the number here recently. 2-0 against the spread in their last couple of games. 4-1 ATS in their last 5. Now, North Texas is in the top 20 in rush offense. They're taking on a 1-7 Southern Miss team who scores only 13 points a game, and they throw for just $1.68 per contest. Now, Southern Miss is 4-0 to the under at home, 7-1 to the under for the whole year. Meanwhile, 3 out of North Texas's last 4 road games fell under the total themselves, 75% to the under for the whole year. I'm going to lean toward North Texas minus 4.5 and the under 47. Next game, Temple ECU, 3 o'clock East. East Carolina's minus 15, totals 54.5. ECU successfully covered the point spread in their last 4 straight, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. The Pirates are in the top 10 in fourth quarter scoring, and they're led by Holton Ahlers, who's thrown for nearly 2,000 yards. They're taking on a Temple team who lost their last 3 straight, just 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. The Owls are scoring only 19 points a game on the road, and they're 104th in rush offense away from home. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Temple's last 4 road games did get over the number. I'm going to lean toward East Carolina minus 15 over 54.5. Next game, Tulsa, Cincinnati, 3:30 Eastern start time. Cincinnati's minus 22.5, numbers 54. The undefeated Bearcats have marquee wins over the likes of Notre Dame and Indiana. They also have one of the best defenses in college football, top 3 in defensive yards per play, top 3 in points allowed per game. Deshaun Pace, Kobe Bryant, and Arquan Bush, 3 interceptions apiece. Joel Dublanco, 67 total tackles. This Bearcat D has 23 total takeaways, thanks in most part to 14 interceptions. They're taking on a Tulsa team who's 121st in first quarter scoring. The Golden Hurricane failed to cover the point spread in 4 out of their last 5, and they're allowing over 33 points a game when traveling. Now, total-wise, Tulsa's 3-0 to the over on the road, 6-2 to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, Cincy's 3-1 to the over as the home team. I'm going to lean towards Cincinnati minus 22.5 and the over 54. Next game, Wisconsin versus Rutgers, 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Wisconsin's minus 12, totals 38. The Badgers are 2-0 straight up on the road, 2-0 against the spread in those road victories. Wisconsin's a top 25 rushing offense. Meanwhile, defensively, Wisconsin is the number 1 rush defense in college football. Leo Chenal has 48 total tackles, 5.5 sacks. Meanwhile, Jack Sanborn has 41 total tackles, along with a pair of sacks as well. Wisconsin's allowing just 17 points a game and only 49 yards a game rushing. I believe that's at home. They're on the road, I mean. They're taking on a Rutgers club who lost 4 out of their last 5. The Knights are 120th in offensive yards per play, And their last 3 straight all fell under the number. 5-2 to the under in their last 7. Meanwhile, 3 out of Wisconsin's last 4 fell under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Wisconsin minus 12, under 38. Next game, Michigan State versus Purdue, 3:30 p.m. East. Sparty's minus 3, totals 53.5. The undefeated Spartans are one of the best covering teams in the nation. They're 7-1 against the spread in their 8 victories. And they have arguably the best running back in college football. Kenneth Walker III has rushed for nearly 1,200 yards already, along with 14 scores on the ground. The running back is averaging nearly 7 yards a carry, and he runs for over 149 yards a game. This Michigan State offense is in the top 10 in yards per play from scrimmage. They're taking on a Purdue team who's 102nd in rush defense at home. The Boilermakers have failed to cover in 4 out of their last 6, and they're 117th in fourth quarter scoring. Purdue's 3-1 to the under at home, 7-1 to the under for the whole year. Meanwhile, Michigan State saw 3 out of their last 4 road games fall under the total themselves. I like Michigan State minus 3, under 53.5. Next matchup, Auburn, Texas A&M, 3:30 p.m. East. Texas A&M's minus 4.5, totals 50. Now the Aggies are throwing for just 208 yards per contest. They're also 113th in fourth quarter scoring. They're taking on an Auburn program who won 4 out of their last 5, and they allow only 19 points a game. Now Zacoby McClain has 67 tackles and a couple of sacks on the season. This Tiger defense is also in the top 10 in fourth quarter points allowed. Now Texas A&M, they're 3-1 to the over in their last 4, 7-2 to the over in their last 9 meetings with Auburn as well. I'm going to lean toward Auburn plus 4.5 in the over 50. Next matchup, it is going to be Oklahoma State versus West Virginia, 3:30 p.m. East. Oklahoma State's minus 3, numbers 49. The 7-1 Cowboys are 3-0 against the spread when traveling. They have a top 10 rush defense, and they're giving up just 18 points a game. Colby Harvell-Peel has 3 interceptions, 42 total tackles. Meanwhile, Malcolm Rodriguez has 77 total tackles himself, along with a scoop and score. This Oklahoma State defense is in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed per play. They're taking on a West Virginia squad who's 97th in rush offense, 106th in fourth quarter scoring. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, 2 out of West Virginia's last 3 ball games did get over the posted number. Give me Oklahoma State minus 3, over 49. Next game, Colorado State, Wyoming, 3:30 p.m. East. Colorado State's minus 4, totals 40.5. Now, the Rams are 107th in offensive yards per play on the road. They've also lost their last 2 straight, and they rank 103rd in first quarter scoring on the road. They're taking on a Wyoming team who's got a top 3 pass defense in the country despite their recent struggles. The Cowboys are giving up only 137 yards a game passing at home. They're in the top 10 in college football in fewest second quarter points allowed at home as well. Chad Muma has 78 tackles and a pair of pick sixes. 3 out of Wyoming's last 4 home games fell under the total. Colorado State's 4-0 to the under on the road, 75% to the under for the entire season. I like Wyoming plus 4, under 40.5. Next matchup, Baylor, TCU, 3:30 Eastern start time. The Baylor Bears are minus 6.5, totals 59. Now, Baylor's on a 3-game winning streak, 6-1 against the spread in their last 7. The Bears are in the top 10 in rush yards per game. They're also scoring over 37 points per contest. Abram Smith is gaining over 7 yards a carry, and he scored 11 times on the ground. The senior running back's also averaging over 112 yards a game rushing. Now, defensively, Baylor's allowing only 17 points a game on the road. They're taking on a TCU team who lost their last 3 straight, and they failed to cover in 7 out of their last 8 ball games. Now, the Horned Frogs have failed to cover the point spread in all 5 of their home games. They're 118th in rush defense. Now, total-wise, 4 out of TCU's last 7 contests got over the line. Meanwhile, 5 out of Baylor's last 7 got over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Baylor minus 6.5 and the over 59. Next contest, not on our big screen, but it is going to be Middle Tennessee State versus Western Kentucky, 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Western Kentucky's minus 15, total 68.5. The Hilltoppers give up 31 points a game and rank 104th in pass defense. They're taking on a Middle Tennessee team who won 3 out of their last 4 and also went 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. The Blue Raiders are in the top 20 in second quarter scoring. They're also 3-1 to the over at home, 5-3 to the over for the whole year. Give me Middle Tennessee State plus 15, over 68.5. Next contest, Navy, Notre Dame, 3:30 Eastern start time. Notre Dame's minus 21, totals 46.5. The Irish are on a 3-game winning streak, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. The Irish score 33 points a game, and they lead the country in fourth quarter scoring. They're taking on a 2-6 Navy team who scores just 18 points a game, ranks 129th in offensive yards per play. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Notre Dame's last 3 got over the number. Give me Notre Dame minus 21, over 46.5. Next contest, it is going to be Penn State versus Maryland, 3:30 p.m. East. Penn State's minus 10, numbers 55.5. The Lions allow only 17 points a game. They're also in the top 10 in defensive yards per play. They're taking on a Maryland squad who's 102nd in rush yards per game. Meanwhile, defensively, the Terps are allowing nearly 31 points per contest. Maryland's failed to cover the point spread in their last 4 straight. 3 out of Penn State's last 4 fell under the line, 75% to the under for the whole year. Give me Penn State minus 10, under 55.5. Next game, Rice, Charlotte, 3:30 p.m. East. Charlotte's minus 6, totals 53. Charlotte covered the number in 3 out of their last 5. Top 10 in the country in offensive time of possession. They're taking on a Rice team who allows over 41 points a game when traveling. The Owls are also 127th in road scoring. The Owls are 3-1 to the over on the road, 5-3 to the over for the whole season. Give me Charlotte minus 6, over 53. Next game, South Alabama versus Troy, 3:30 Eastern start time. Troy's minus 4, totals 48. Troy failed to cover in 4 out of their last 5. The Trojans are also 106th in rush offense. They're taking on a South Alabama team who's in the top 20 in defensive yards per play. The Jags are also in the top 25 in rush defense. 2 out of South Alabama's last 3 road games got over the line. Troy's 2-1 to the over in their last 3 at home. Give me South Alabama plus 4, over 48. Next game, Mississippi State, Arkansas, 4 o'clock East. The Arkansas Razorbacks are minus 5, totals 55 and a hook. Arkansas is 4-1 straight up at home, top 5 in the country in rushing. The Razorbacks are gaining over 261 yards a game on the ground at home. They're taking on a Mississippi State program who's 130th in the nation in rush yards per game. 4 out of the Razorbacks' last 5 home games got over the number. I'm going to lean toward Arkansas minus 5, over 55.5. Next contest, Tulane versus Central Florida, 4 o'clock East. The UCF Knights are minus 13, numbers 59.5. UCF's won 3 out of their last 4, and they're also 4-0 straight up on their home field. UCF scores 36 points a game on their home field, and they rank in the top 5 in the country in third quarter scoring. They're taking on a 1-7 Tulane squad who's winless in 4 games on the road, and they allow 52 points per game when traveling. The Green Wave's 4-0 to the over on the road. UCF 75% to the over for the whole year. I'm going to lean toward the Central Florida Knights, minus 13, over 59.5. Next contest, not on the big screen, but it is going to be NC State versus Florida State, 4 o'clock Eastern kickoff. NC State's minus 3, totals 56.5. The Wolfpack's allowing only 16 points a game. They're in the top 10 in the country in fewest points allowed. They're taking on a Seminoles team who throws for just $182 a game. The Noles are also 112th in the country in first quarter scoring at home. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Florida State's last 7 fell under the line. Meanwhile, NC State saw 2 out of their last 3 fall under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward NC State -3 and the under 56.5. Next ball game, Utah State versus New Mexico State, 4 o'clock Eastern start time. Utah State's -18, number 71. The Aggies are undefeated on the road. They throw for over 321 yards a game in that very same category. Utah State scoring over 34 points a game when traveling. They're taking on a New Mexico State team who allows 39 points a game. They rank 121st in pass defense. Now, total-wise, 2 out of New Mexico State's last 3 home games did fall under the number. Meanwhile, Utah State's 5-3 to the under for the whole season. I like Utah State -18 and the under 71. Next matchup, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, 6 o'clock East. Coastal's -20, total 60.5. The Chanticleers lead the NCAA in offensive yards per play. They're scoring over 40 points a game, well over 40 points a game, and they rush for over 230 yards per contest. They're taking on a 2-6 Georgia Southern team who allows over 32 points a game themselves, and they rank 123rd in yards allowed per play. Now, 2 out of Georgia Southern's last 3 did fall under the number. Meanwhile, Coastal's 3-0 to the under when traveling. Give me Coastal Carolina -20, under 60.5. Next game, Marshall FAU, 6 o'clock East. Marshall's -1.5, numbers 58. Marshall allows over 276 yards a game on the road. That's rush yards a game on the road. As a matter of fact, the Herd lost 2 out of their last 4 road games. They're taking on a Florida Atlantic squad who's 4-0 straight up at home, 3-1 against the number in those home victories. The Owls are giving up just 16 points a game on their home field. They're holding their opponents to just 86 yards a game rushing in that same category. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, 3 out of FAU's last 4 home games got over the line. Meanwhile, Marshall's 3-1 to the over in their last 4 on the road. Give me Florida Atlantic +1.5, over 58. Next game, Boise State, Fresno State, 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Fresno's -5, totals 58.5. Fresno won 6 out of their last 7 ball games, 4-0 straight up on their home field. The Bulldogs score 45 points a game at home. They throw for nearly 375 yards a game in that same category. They're taking on a Boise team who's 99th in pass defense on the road themselves. Meanwhile, offensively, Boise's 103rd in offensive yards per play. Now, total-wise, the Broncos are 4-0 to the under on the road, 75% to the under for the whole season. I'm going to lean toward Fresno -5, under 58.5. Next contest, LSU versus Alabama, 7 o'clock East. Bama's -28.5, total 66. The Tide's 111th in fourth quarter points allowed at home. They're taking on an LSU team who scores 31 points a game. And they also rank in the top 25 in fourth quarter scoring on the road. 2 out of LSU's last 3 got over the line. Bama saw 4 out of their last 6 get over the number themselves. Give me LSU +28.5 and the over 66. Next matchup, Tennessee, Kentucky, 7 o'clock East. Kentucky's -1, totals 57. The Bobcats are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. Top 25 rush defense. They're taking on a Tennessee team who lost their last 2 straight, 116th in road pass defense. The Vols allow 38 points a game when traveling. 2 out of Tennessee's last 3 road games got over the number. 5-3 to the over in their last 8. Meanwhile, the Wildcats are 4-1 to the over at home. Give me Kentucky -1, over 57. Next game, Iowa, Northwestern, 7 o'clock East. Iowa's -12, totals 40.5. The Hawkeyes are in the top 5 in defensive yards per play. They're allowing only 16 points a game. They're taking on a Northwestern team who's 107th in offensive yards per play. They score only 19 points a game. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Northwestern's last 5 home games fell under the number. Meanwhile, the Hawkeyes are 75% to the under for the whole year. I'm going to lean toward Iowa minus 12, under 40.5. Next contest, Old Dominion, FIU, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Old Dominion's minus 3, totals 51. The ODU Monarchs are 5-3 against the spread in their last 8. They have a top 30 rush defense in the country. They're taking on a 1-7 FIU program who's 101st in scoring, 120th in rushing. Now, 5 out of Florida International's last 8 ball games got over the line. Give me ODU minus 3 over 51. Next game, Oregon State, Colorado, 7 o'clock East. Oregon State's minus 10.5, totals 54. Oregon State's rushing for over 230 yards a game, 34 points a game they're averaging as well. They're taking on a 2-6 Colorado school who averages only 16 points a game, and they throw for a measly $130 per contest. The Buffaloes are 126th in offensive yards per play. The Buffs are 4-0 to the under at home, 75% to the under for the whole season. Give me Oregon State minus 10.5, under 54. Next game, UNLV, New Mexico, 7 p.m. East. New Mexico's minus 2, totals 45. This Lobo defense is in the top 30 in the country in yards allowed per play. They also held Wyoming to just 3 points in their most recent ball game. They're taking on a winless UNLV team who scores only 19 points a game and rushes for just 71 yards per contest on the road. Now, total-wise, the Rebels' last 2 straight got over the line. Give me New Mexico minus 2 over 45. Next matchup, Houston, South Florida, 7:30 East. The Houston Cougars are minus 13, numbers 53. The Cougs are on a 7-game winning streak, and they're in the top 3 in the nation in road scoring. Houston averages 43 points a game away from home. They're taking on a USF program who lost 4 out of their last 5. And they rank 122nd in yards allowed per play. 3 out of the Bulls' last 4 home games got over the number. Houston's 3-0 to the over on the road. Give me Houston minus 13 over 53. Next matchup, it is going to be Florida, South Carolina, 7:30 Eastern start time. The Florida Gators are minus 18, totals 53. The Gators lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 1-3 against the spread in those contests. Florida's 105th in the nation in third quarter points allowed on the road. They're taking on a South Carolina team who's 3-1 straight up at home. And they lead the country in pass yards allowed per game on their home field. The Gamecocks are giving up only 12 points a game at Williams-Brice Stadium. Just 133 pass yards a game there. South Carolina's 4-0 to the under at home. Florida's 6-2 to the under for the whole season. Give me South Carolina plus 18, under 53. Next matchup, Oregon, Washington, 7:30 Eastern start time. Oregon's minus 6.5, totals 51. The Ducks are 7-1 on the season and rank in the top 25 in rushing. Oregon's also scoring over 36 points a game. They're taking on a Washington team who's certainly not built for a track meet. They're 104th in scoring, 102nd in offensive yards per play at home. Washington's 3-1 to the under at home, 7-1 to the under for the season. Give me Oregon minus 6.5, under 51. Next contest, not on the big screen for some reason, but it is going to be Clemson versus Louisville, 7:30 Eastern kickoff. Clemson's minus 4, totals 46.5. The Tigers failed to cover the number in 7 out of their last 8 ball games. 112th in the country in offensive scoring. The Tigers are also 113th in offensive yards per play on the road. They're taking on a Louisville team who scores over 33 points a game at home and rushes for nearly 230 yards a game there. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Louisville's last 4 home games fell under the number, 75% to the under for the whole season. Meanwhile, Clemson is 6-2 to the under for the whole year themselves. I'm going to lean toward Louisville plus 4, under 46.5. Next game, Indiana, Michigan, 7:30 East. Michigan's minus 20, totals 51. The Wolverines are throwing for just $163 in the Big House. They also allowed 37 points to a run-heavy Michigan State team. They're taking on an Indy squad who has a top 35 rush defense. Indiana's last 2 straight got over the total, 5-2 to the over in their last 7. Meanwhile, 3 out of Michigan's last 4 got over the number themselves. Give me Indiana plus 20, over 51. Next ball game, Texas, Iowa State, 7:30 p.m. East. The Iowa State Cyclones are minus 6.5, total 60. The Cyclones allow only 16 points a game at home, top 20 in fewest yards allowed per play. They're taking on a Texas team who lost their last 3 straight. They allow over 233 rush yards a game on the road. 4 out of Texas's last 7 did get over the number. Meanwhile, Iowa State's 4 wanted the over in their last 5. Give me Iowa State minus 6.5, over 60. Next ball game, San Jose State versus Nevada, 10 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Nevada's minus 10, numbers 55. The Wolfpacks 4-0 straight up at home, 429 passing yards a game they're throwing for on their home field. They're taking on a San Jose State team who's just 1-4 against the spread on the road, and they score only 13 points a game when traveling. The Spartans are 110th in offensive yards per play on the road. 4 out of San Jose State's last 5 ball games got over the line. Meanwhile, Nevada's 3-1 to the over at home, 6-2 to the over for the whole year. Give me Nevada minus 10, over 55. Next game, UTSA versus UTEP, 10:15 East. The Texas San Antonio Roadrunners, UTSA, they're minus 11, totals 53. Now, San Antonio's undefeated on this season, 7-1 against the spread in those 8 victories. The Roadrunners are scoring over 41 points a game, top 3 in fourth quarter scoring on the road. They're taking on a UTEP squad who's 95th in the nation in home scoring. The UTEP Miners are also 120th in second quarter scoring at home. Now, 4 out of UTEP's last 7 did actually get over the line. Meanwhile, Texas San Antonio's 3-1 to the over when traveling this season. Give me UTSA. Texas San Antonio minus 11, over 53. Next matchup, USC, Arizona State, 10:30 p.m. East. Arizona State's minus 8.5, totals 59 and a hook. The Sun Devils are on a 2-game losing streak, 2-3 against the spread on their home field. They're taking on a USC team who scores 33 points a game on the road, and they rank in the top 10 in road passing. Total-wise, USC's 3-0 to the under on the road. Arizona State's 3-2 to the under at home. Give me USC plus 8.5, under 59 and a hook. Next and final matchup, San Diego State versus Hawaii, 11 o'clock Eastern start time. San Diego State's minus 7, totals 46.5. And as hard as it is to win on the island, I do think the Aztecs should be able to get the job done in this spot here. They're 7-1 thus far in the season, and they're in the top 5 in defensive yards per play. The Aztecs are giving up just 13 points a game on the road, and they're holding their opponents to just 158 yards passing in that same category. They're taking on a Hawaii team who failed to cover in their last 3 straight. The Rainbow Warriors allow 34 points per contest and nearly 310 passing yards a game. Now, total-wise, Hawaii's last 2 straight got over the line. San Diego State saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean towards San Diego State minus 7 and the over 46.5. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout-out of the day. Normally, I do my quick pick recap, but you can just look at that in the comments section in the text version because it's ridiculous just to rip off all the picks just in rapid-fire succession when you can just read them. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into our shout-out of the day. Of course, that's brought to you by my website at brockpage.com. We are 7-2 in our last 9 college football tier package picks on that website. Today's shout-out of the day goes to Johnson T. Washington, who said earlier today, "What wonderful content." All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on that website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on BrockPage.com, you are going to get access to that content all the way through the end of November. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.